Hello guys, welcome back. Yeah, it's been a while. I had to take care of my professional job change, and yeah, there were a lot to do in the new role, and yeah, I couldn't do my live sessions for a week at least now. I will try to stick to at least once for 2 days, or at least 2 days a week from now on. Yeah. But for today's topic, let's dive into it straight away. It's on the repeaters. Yeah, uh, these repeaters which we have in Nomadsculpt are array, curve, radial, and mirror. Sometimes these are not enough. There are uh, certain situations when we have to go to Blender, or it was a bit quirky whenever I had to create something with arrays, particularly with surfaces which has more high details. For example, like flower, uh, not the petals, but the center of a flower with those pollen grains. And yeah, it requires too much of modeling. Yeah, we can claim Nomad is not the right tool. Nomad is for sculpting, but I want to experience the maximum limit. Like I want to use Nomad to its extreme. That's that's what I always aim to do. And as you guys always know, iPad is a handy tool. And with all those M1 chips, M2 chips, it's one of the powerful chips in the industry, and there are not many apps which are using the capacity of uh, those chips, and Nomadsculpt can actually use it to its limit, which I love, and I'm trying to use Nomadsculpt to its maximum limit. That's what uh, the whole idea is. So let's dive into the arrays. Let me delete this quad sphere and switch on the grid. So what do we typically do in an array? Let's say I have a box in a it's in the origin. I'm gonna switch off the wireframe and quickly add an array. It should it should automatically create the array. So when I added, so this gizmo was not on, but it in default goes to the origin as the center, and from there the count, if you increase the count, it let me reduce the uh, boxes to 0 so that it's not going to be heavy and crash on me. And now let's go to the array. Let's say I want to increase. See what's happening. It is within this size of 2. It is trying to cover 8 boxes, and if you activate the face groups, you can see it is covering that region. And let's say I make it, instead of having it fit inside, if I uncheck it, now I set a offset distance and I then increase the count, it just grows based on the offset which I have set. So there are situations where we will need the fit inside and we will not need the fit inside. That depends. And you can use the same uh, as you're in the same array. You can also increase this count, and you can set offset. Since you have already removed for fit inside, it in default takes for all the axes, which is debatable. Some situations we might need fit inside for one axis, and I don't know if we can switch that. No, we can't. Yeah. So this is the limitations which we can obviously see, and in z-axis it is same. If I remove it, it is gonna be fit inside. So this is how a typical array works. And the next option which we have here is, let's add a curve. Straight away you can add a curve while you are on a box. It automatically creates a curve array, and if I click somewhere else and I increase the number of count, it just tries to fill the curve wherever it goes. The cool part about this is you can also change between B-spline and switch between that. It aligns based on that. And if you want to have it as a closed loop, that is also possible. It tries to fill that curve. You can increase the count trying to fit within it. And as you guys know, the snap option is there. You can snap the curve to the grid and also to any object. If there is any object, let's say I add a plane which should be outside, and let's say reduce the count, increase the size of the plane, and now if I go to the curve in snap mode, let's say I use vertices, snaps to the vertices, and we just need to hide the plane. The curve repeaters are gonna be there. This is in some cases, let's say you want to create a chain link, you can use this option. Again, B-spline gives a different look. So how do we control this? You see it is jumping all over the place when you create these curves. How do we control this? That's the challenge. So let's delete these planes and everything. Now I'm gonna create a cylinder just for a reference. So typically I use primitives to align most of the arrays. How I do it is, let's say I have a cylinder here. I will define the radius of the cylinder, let's say 10, and that is the outermost edge, which we obviously know. And now I'm gonna maintain the height, and that is also now known dimension. And I'll also play around with this number here, which gives a number of grids around the cylinder. So I'm gonna give 12 because 360 can be easily divided by 12, and so I'm gonna just leave it. Or you can even use divisibles of 12, which could be 24 or 36. And I'm gonna remove this constant to 1 for time being, and this is gonna be, I'm gonna remove the cap as well. So this is one primitive. Let's say I want a chain link towards the edge, towards this axis. I'm gonna clone this. This is where the clone option comes. So what clone does is it literally copies the same object and it's still on the same location. So if I switch on the outline option, that is there, the other object is also there, both are there. And just click on the second object, snap option, and moving it wherever I want. Since it is a clone, if I edit one object, it's not gonna affect the other object. So let's say I change it to 5, it's not gonna affect that. But if I click this and create an instant, that's when it is there on the same location, but now it is linked to the same body. That means any change you do to the main body, I'm gonna move it here. Let's say I change the radius of this to 12, the other also changes. So that is the difference between instance and clone. So you can even see the instance has the special coloring code to its left, and if you don't want it to be an instant, you can click on instance by selecting one. I don't know if, yeah, it doesn't sync automatically, but I don't know what is the purpose of this sync, unless you're already having it linked. I thought once you unsync it and let's say you try to change something, and then again if there is an option to sync it, that's what I was expecting, but that's not the case. But yeah, there is a sync option, which obviously at this point I'm not using, but eventually I'll learn to use it. For our case, I'm gonna just leave this cylinder. This is 10 and this radius is 5, and I'm gonna create a tube. So if you guys didn't know, tube not on Gizmo. If you guys didn't know, the tube option now can become like, yeah, it was introduced in the last update, I think. It can be converted into a curve repeater. So in a solo mode, if I switch this here, there is a tube, and yeah, axis is there, and I'm gonna turn it to 90 degree now, so it is flat to this horizontal axis. The reason why I do that is to make sure the center is aligned, the gizmo is aligned to the center of the object, and using that I again go there, move it there. So in this case, I will say there is obviously there is only 2 points, and now in the snap mode I'm going to switch it to vertex, and I can snap it here. I have explained this in the previous video sessions as well. Similar technique which I follow there. I'm going to reduce this number so that it doesn't crash us initially, and yeah, I'm gonna snap it, snap here, here. Yeah, that's how you get the curve. And reason why I use the primitive is you can get a proper tangent object, and yeah, that is the purpose. Let me quickly close the curve. Here it is, and switching to B-spline, it goes tangent around the cylinder. And if you are already doing it right, you can see the triangle gets perfectly aligned. Now if you close the curve, it just closes it. Make sure those points are touching the primitive, and once that is confirmed, you know that curve is there. We'll switch off the outline so that it doesn't annoy us. Now, as I said before, we can create a curve repeater using the tube itself. You can see that it comes in the array as an array option. Now if I switch off every other objects, this is a curve repeater here. And what you can do with the curve repeater is, as usual, add let's say add a box, and move it to wherever I want. Let me increase the number of count here so that I can visually see what's happening. And the thing with repeaters is it always takes this green axis, what is the green axis, x y axis as the direction of array. So for that purpose, I'm gonna turn it to 90 degree and let me increase the count. Switch on the tube so that I know where I'm starting it. Okay, what is the axis of the tube that is there? This array, axis of the array is here, and yeah, that is where okay, I should have added the box in the axis of this array. Let me add there on Gizmo. Yeah, it should follow the curve. I'm gonna switch off the tube now, and yeah, reduce the number of vertices, increase the count. If it is not a B-spline, it just, you can see how it's not well aligned with. Okay, I'll switch on the cylinder and show you how the cylinder helped me do this. So yeah, this is how the like the primitives are useful creating arrays, particularly the tube array, the curve array. And obviously let me pin this point. You guys would already know the radial array. Let's say I take that point and array it. Yeah, this is how it looks. If I increase the count, just increases it. Remove the face group, it just creates a pattern. If you want, since I've reduced the number of vertices, it doesn't look like it doesn't requires much memory. If I switch off the smooth shading, it should look like this. And let's say I validate it, like let's say I clone it. Yeah, I'm gonna clone it. I'm gonna join this. You see, it's just 559. Yeah, okay. What is this? If you switch on the wireframe, you can see this. And let's see what happens if I click voxel remesh. Let's play around with this. Should I cancel it and save it before I click the voxel remesh? Not now. Let me quickly a message. Yeah, sorry guys. Yeah, not bad. Let me quickly save this. So it looks like this, and I'd say I decimate it. Decimate by 50%. So how many vertices? 2 million. Even with that, it is 2 million. Okay. Yeah, because I chose a smaller size for the voxel remesh. Let's see what it looks. Neat. And darker, slightly slight roughness. Yeah, this is how it looks. Let me add a light quickly with direction spotlight and take it to the origin. The light to the origin, yeah. This light, yeah. This is to be deleted. Add light. Move it to the origin. Yeah, this way. Reset. Now, if it is a spotlight, and turn it to point here and increase the intensity. Okay. Yep. So just that is just a radial array. We just saw the process of using radial array and regular array, and also the curve. Now comes the mirror. Mirror is obviously easier to get to understand. So let's say have the same thing here, and let me have this box. Yeah, this one is here. There is a grid. Okay, it is away from the center plane, and let's say move it here. Now add a mirror, so you can see it is mirrored to the x-axis now. And if I activate Y and move the body, yeah, Y and Z. Let me move the body here up and down. I can see it's mirrored based on the center axis. So if I had to mirror about a different origin, let's say I add a box or a cylinder again as a primitive. It goes to the center, obviously, which is the global center. I can move anywhere I want, and now I can use that and pin it. Now if I go add, now since it is pinned, I'm going to click on the box that which is this object here, and now add on gizmo a mirror. So it takes that as the gizmo for the mirror. You see what's happening? So it's mirroring against that axis. So now if I move this object, it's mirrored for that cylinder there. So it is not for the center, it is for that cylinder, and it is the same strategy you can follow to create mirrors about any specific axis you want. And yeah, these are the ways to use array, curve, radial, and mirror. But can we achieve all the modeling features using these? Most of the cases we can, particularly with the with this tube array, we can achieve a lot because this also gives you option to change the radius in different points, right? So that means you can have different radius at different location, and you can mirror, like as I did before, you can. So in this case, it is just a box I have here. Instead of box, let's say I add a um, like a isodrome. Yeah, that gives a shape there. I can even create a twist. So yeah, it twists from the initial point towards the end. So yeah, this gives the tube itself by itself gives a lot of control, uh, but it also has its own limitation because tube is still a path, right? There are situations where I try to create array on a flat face, and I'll show you with an example. Let me save this one for example, for case. Okay, for example, this one here. If you guys were watched my previous live streams, this is one of the project which I was working on, which is to try creating the address. And recently I was trying to create I was having an idea if we can replace the face groups with objects. And when it was introduced, the idea was introduced in the Nomadsculpt Discord. Bezzo, wow, that the guy is fast, man. He just went in and created, updated his tool, handy tool, which he already created with this. So now we can export um, export an object like this, a tube, as I created before. Export this into his tool, and his tool can replace each and every individual face with an object. It could be a default isodrome, or a default, what is it? A torus, which is this, a default torus, or you can even upload a specific image you want, object you want to replace it with, like a tube or whatever, a body, specific body. You can make the tool to replace it. Let me explain with an example. Let's create one new. Okay, so delete this. I'm gonna add what I have not used. I didn't use tube before, so let's try fresh. Add a tube, switch on the wireframe mode, and no, not tube, it's a lathe. Lathe, and I'm gonna reduce the number of to 12. Okay, and might be I'm gonna, instead of constant, I'm reducing it to 3, and now I'll linear subdivide it, so I know how many exact numbers are there. And do I need a cap? No. And I'll add another tube. This time the tube is gonna be turned to 90 degree. Should I turn it? Yeah, why not? 90 degree. 45 should work. 45, and move it here so that I know that's our axis. And with snap mode on. I'm gonna snap it to vertices to this point here. I hope the center aligned it. No, I'll align the center to the bottom. So now it is not 45 degree, I know, but just yeah, do it like this. Add another point here, maybe. Reduce it. Reduce the number by 4. Okay. Okay. So this is to limit the number of vertices which when I'm moving around, so it doesn't takes much memory. Just for an example, to array this around the whole body, what I had to do is I had to add with this clicked add sorry, first of all I'll have to click this gizmo, I had to pin it, and then I had to switch to the tube. Now add a radial array, and then I know it is arrayed, and then I had to yeah, do this. Maybe I can use this. I think I can use it as a curve repeater and use that there. Put it under there. I don't know if yeah, the count is going somewhere else. Yeah, the procedure is annoying because if I had to say I want this same object to be everywhere on this body, at this time there is not a single tool within Nomad which can make the process easier. So that's where this handy tool, Bezzo's handy tool, comes in. So what I'll do is, first off, I'll save this project simply, whatever project name it comes. I'll export. Let me delete this array. Okay, so there are two bodies. One is this lathe which we created, and this is the spike which is a tube. So I'll export the lathe first. Object, only the selector. Export as an object. Save to files and save it as lathe. Okay, click on the tube, only selected, export as object, save to files. Now it is saved in the name of tube. Yeah, it was already saved. Some other object was already having the name, so I replaced it. Now let's go to Bezzo's tool. Yeah, if you guys didn't know, then yeah, Bezzo did tag his. Yeah, he did ask. I'm pretty sure. He's also saying here's a link to the page for those who are interested. Silly little mesh web app. Funny. Yeah, you just need to click it, or you can even go using the link which I provided. Okay, I don't know, for some reason the link didn't work. Yep, now it works. And here you can import a model. So here you can import the lathe now. He also gave an option to display it as wireframe, face normals, and yeah, everything is now visible. So now that is a lathe. Now we can create faceted tubes if you want, and if we click generate, it generates faceted tubes, which we already discussed in the previous videos, which is like a cage. It converts only the mesh around. Yeah, why not? We can use this as well in our project. Add to screen. It looks like it converts only the vertices into tubes. Save it. Every time you bring in a body, better save it. This video is not about that. This video about these two options: torus per face And let's try generate. What it does, it is creating, it's replacing the faces, individual faces with the one torus each. See, that's what is done, and you can see the size is also varies here, and that can be changed by uh, changing this option here, constant absolute size. And now we click generate, generates fixed size body. If you change the ring size, show keyboard 0.003, enter. Okay, this one 0.2, generate. Yeah, it looks like donuts on each faces. Yeah, if you want just these objects, yeah, you can have like directly use it. Let me export GLB, open in Nomad, add to scene. So the cool part is he also gave an option like each torus is linked to one body, like somewhere here. So if you change this, everything changes. And we save it. That is here. What he did is that can be controlled by, that is controlled by this object here. Group, yeah, if you click bake copies, it is not going to have that option. Now it is group nomad instances, so it's individual instance. Now if I want the object which I already created, import instant objects. Now I can get an option to import the body and import the tube here and click generate. This is where it directly try to replace the faces, which is not what I wanted, because the normal is the matter. If I change the normals and try, it still is not working because we need to confirm whether the normal is right or wrong. Let's see, where is it, pin, remove the pin and click on this object. Okay, the tube object, the center is somewhere here, so which is wrong. What you'll have to do is go pivot to the bottom, so it gets to the bottom, and now export it, save to files, save it as a tube, replace it. Now it should work. Let me try to import it again, import tube and generate. Okay, import model lathe, import master object tube and click generate. This there, and even with y normal, yeah, it didn't give the result what I expected, but we can quite cheat it in the same, like, yeah, so I know he'll update it later on, but even with the current state we can try achieve what we wanted. Let's go it in the front view and select one of the torus here. You already see there is the center of the torus is perfectly aligned. I didn't know where the torus was, so I'm gonna pull it up to the top of the list so I don't want to worry searching it. So that is that object. And I'll hide this tube, which I don't want because I couldn't do the same array as a torus. Now that being selected, you can add a tube onto the gizmo. Yes, it is aligned weirdly. Don't worry. I can reduce this, and if you turn it, okay, I could align it, but you see what's happening, it is aligned to that green axis. So what I can do is, let me undo this pivot. Let me change this pivot to 45 degree, 45 degree. Now let's try it again. Add tube, should come perfectly in that location, and you can see it is aligned to that same axis, and it's happening everywhere. All the torus is being replaced with a cylinder. Now I will take this as an opportunity to create a certain object as primitives as I showed before. I'll clone this, hide one set. I'm gonna delete the torus, sorry, yeah, the tube from here, and select all, unselect this and delete. Yeah, delete this. Only one torus should be there. What is it? Yeah, the torus is here, and oh, hide in uninstances and delete it. So that torus is here, and I know that same torus is here as well. It's the same torus. So I'll click here. I'm gonna add a plane, and with the plane I'm gonna turn it 90 degree. Reduce the size. Like this, and reduce it like this. I'll increase this. Wait, let's leave it as it is. Reduce the number by 4 instead of this one, as your desire. I'm going to increase it further, and I'll increase this to, actually 1 should be fine. Yeah, it should create a line in between. So now the purpose of having this object is, as I said before, I usually use a primitive to align the tubes. So now the plane is here. I can now go switch on this, go to the tube. I can use that to align to the vertices. Yeah, and yeah, perfect. That is where I want it. I'll reduce it to, it might be 12. Multiple radius. Now I can click anywhere I want, which snaps to the same vertices in the plane. And yeah, now I can shrink the edge, shrink wherever I want, enlarge wherever I want. snap wherever I want. Switch off. Yeah, you have full control over your tube. You can do whatever you want. Let's say I don't want the bottom objects to be like that. Yeah, I can play around with this further. And it edits every other object. Say it's reflective, paint glossy. Maybe I give it a color. Paint all glossy. Yeah. And then I can hide this plane and the torus. And maybe even paint this to a different color. Yeah. So you achieved a like not exact array, but a similar version of array with within Nomadsculpt. Within iPad itself. First of all, you need not transfer it into Blender or any other tools outside your iPad. You can play one like this was done within iPad, and you can use the same technique to. So as I shown in Bezzo's tool, there are options to tilt tilt the axis of each individual torus. So when we did for this project, it was flat to the surface. There is an option within Bezzo's tool where you can actually tilt the toruses, which will give mesh like visual. Like you can see this, all these individual toruses are tilted to two different axes, and yeah, when you bring it into Nomad, they all will be aligned to a different directions as well. Like if you want, that's how you want, you can do that as well. And the same option can be used to create something like this here, which is shared in Nomad art channel. So what is here is this just a body like a face, and this one was a was previously like this one. This model was done in the previous sessions where I explained how to create the clean topologies. If you missed it, you can go there and watch it. What I did was I just created a topology for the back of the skull, and I created a copy of it with limited number of mesh. So this was the actual mesh. So I created the copy of only the skull, and once I exported, I also exported a tube. I tried to do the same process, but the tube didn't align properly. So I just brought the torus in. So if I clone this, I can show you that I'll delete this. I brought in only the torus. Solo mode. Yeah, and in this case, I left it with as it is with different sizes, which doesn't matter for my case, because if I replace with if I add a tube, similar to what I added here. I don't think the size will directly change based on the size of the torus. Yeah, like if you see, this is what I have done here, or not. It does change with the size of the torus, I think. Huh, I didn't even notice that properly. So if you see here, these tubes are smaller than these, but still they are the same tube. And weird part about this was each tubes are aligned to a different direction. I didn't do anything. It was just like I played around with it, and it's how it was. Yeah, that there and that there, that. And if I go to solo mode and remove the face groups, and if I hide this face and the neck, maybe even the eyes. Now if you see this, yeah, this is how I created this object. And yeah, if you are wondering how I got this color scheme, if I remove the post-processing, you can see it is just regular paint, like green and black. And yeah, the eyes, I explained about how to create those eyes in the previous session. Yeah, these are not that great, but still, I was explaining this the previous session. And if I switch on the post-processing, you can see it's pinkish because of this option here. So curvature, if I remove the curvature, it is just a regular body. So in curvature, I chose for bump a different color, and for the cavity different color. It gives that, and then I increase the factor to give the glow effect. If I increase it through, it just glows. This is how I achieved it. And yeah, guys are welcome to play around with this, and let me know how you guys find useful with this Bezzo's new handy tool, as he said there. Yeah, let me save this. I like this model for some reason, like the way it came. I need to work on the eye. Yeah, the eye is not good enough, because I need to give some details similar to, I was planning to give some details similar to this. Here I need to give something similar to this. That is for the future. I was also trying to play around with the hair follicles as here, using Bezos tool, but that is for the future video. For time being, yeah, I even tried with the isodrome. This is just an isodrome, and I exported it into Bezos tool, created those those toruses, and then replaced with the tube and deleted the torus, so just the tube retained. Yeah, you guys are welcome to try this out. Yeah, I'll come back with other interesting subject in my next session. Stay tuned. See you guys. Take care. Bye.